What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rich Talks BS. I'm your host, Rich. Last week was the first college football playoff rankings, and it was some pretty interesting picks. A couple of disappointments, a couple of surprises, and a few, rankings that were, should I say, not surprising. And we start off with the top four. Number one, Alabama. Number two, Notre Dame. Number three, Clemson. And number four, Ohio State. Also rounding out the top 10, you had number five, Texas A&M. Number six, Florida. Number seven, Cincinnati. Number eight, Northwestern. Number nine, Georgia. And number 10, Miami. So in the top 10, you have four SEC teams, three ACC, two non-Power Fives, and a one Big Ten. Leading into the weekend, there were a lot of scenarios going on, a lot of talks with, the college football playoff rankings, which, it's just the first week. One in particular was BYU being ranked at 14. A lot of BYU fans were really upset about that. Even college football fans were kind of looking at it like, hey, don't you think this ranked a little too low? But like I said, it's just the first week. Calm down. We got a few more weeks to go. A lot of things can happen, which they kind of did. But even with BYU being ranked at 14, they're being led by quarterback Zach Wilson, who's in the Heisman conversation. Having one of the best years at quarterback in college football. Their team, the offense is high powered. They're putting up a lot of numbers. They're putting up points. It's just hard for them to find a team to play against. They're independent, so it's going out and checking with this team if they can play, checking with that team if they can play. They almost had a game lined up for this past Saturday against Washington, but Washington ended up playing a conference game. So if BYU finds a team that happens to have an open spot, they can play them. Unless they got a team in the conference that comes up, then that's what they're going to go with. Especially with how this year's been going. A lot of games being canceled. It's getting harder for quite a few teams to be able to get into their conference championship game. Big Ten, for example, like with Wisconsin, they're already 3 games canceled. They're not eligible to play in the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State, even their path to the Big Ten championship game is in jeopardy, which they just had a game canceled this past weekend also. But still sitting at 4-0, they're still at number 4, and anything can happen. They got Michigan State this weekend also, so I don't see that game being canceled. I actually don't see them having trouble getting into the Big Ten championship game. But if they can't get in, do they still get in as an undefeated, big powerhouse team? It's going to be really hard for them. A lot of scenarios would have to happen. I don't have them going in, especially the way they've been playing. Their defense is, not playing as good as it could be or should be. Their offense is not as explosive as it was last year. They're getting by. They had a close call with Indiana last week, which was a really good game actually, and kind of showed that Indiana is true to their game. They're not a fluke. They are who they are. They're the real thing. Being the way that they're built, the way they were playing, especially against the Ohio State team. But we'll see what happens. You had like just the different canceled games, like I said, ahead, posting my predictions on the top 25 ahead of Tuesday night's rankings, college playoff rankings. It's kind of interesting. Like I said, there were some disappointments, there were some upsets. Northwestern, one of them being upset by Michigan State. They lost 29-20. They're done. They're out. And even if they're able to go and win the Big Ten championship game, they're not gonna get in. Like I said, Wisconsin's already out of the Big Ten championship game. They could win out and still not be able to participate. Um, you had Alabama over Auburn, 42-13, easy win in that Iron Bowl. Even with Auburn being, only a two-team loss, which was kind of surprising to me. You had Notre Dame beat North Carolina 31-17. Clemson coming back after their game got canceled last week against Pitt 52-17. This was also Trevor Lawrence's first game back in 5 weeks, which he hasn't missed a step. He looked really good. Not playing for 5 weeks. It doesn't show. He hasn't missed a step. He's right back in the rhythm, and that's pretty good. To me, that should be scary to like on Notre Dame, especially when they, meet again in the ACC championship game. Notre Dame took the first game, but that was without Trevor Lawrence. They kept up with them. Clemson kept up with Notre Dame. Notre Dame being the team that they are this year, powerhouse team. The offense, defense, they're just rolling on all cylinders. But Clemson will get the ACC championship. With that, Clemson could get in. Clemson will get in. But where does that leave Notre Dame? Being a one-team loss, losing the ACC championship game to Clemson, but also giving Clemson their one loss. Could Notre Dame get in? I think they do. This year we will and could possibly have two ACC teams in the college playoff, just kind of because of how the year is going also, but because they are that good. Notre Dame did the smart thing in joining the conference, after being independent, especially the ACC. That was an interesting choice. That was a really good choice, and that was a good thing on their part. Florida beating Kentucky 34-10. Florida's been pretty good. They should end up meeting Alabama in the SEC championship game, but they're not going to beat Alabama. That Bama team is rolling on all cylinders. Their offense, defense, they're just rolling and just on rhythm to a perfect season, on rhythm to winning another championship, which would be interesting to see in the playoff, seeing who their opponents will be. Cincinnati could win out. Cincinnati could get in. If Ohio State loses the Big Ten championship game, Cincinnati is going to get in. If Ohio State can't play in the Big Ten championship game and they still go undefeated, Cincinnati will get in. Cincinnati should get in. And Ohio State team like that, I don't think they're ready for this playoff. It'd be really interesting to see a non-Power 5 in the playoffs for the first time. Not counting Independent, which was Notre Dame, but still, just to see, a non-Power 5 conference team, especially like Cincinnati. Cincinnati's been on a roll. Their offense has been rolling. Their defense is getting better. But the scary thing for that part is they will be a number 4 and they will play Alabama, which they're not going to beat Alabama. Alabama, it'll be an interesting game. I don't think Alabama would blow them out, but then again, they probably will. Cincinnati, like I said, is a good team, but I don't think they're good enough to win their first playoff appearance. Not this year anyway. BYU is going to be very hard for them to get into the playoff. A lot of scenarios would have to happen. Their offense is really good. Like I said, with their quarterback, he's just amazing. A lot of people are not able to see the BYU game, or a lot of people haven't seen BYU. If you get a chance to watch them and watch a game, watch the game. They're exciting. They're explosive. They could do a little damage in the playoff if they're able to make it, which I doubt it, but they will be in the New Year's Six bowl game. You got USC that's undefeated in the Pac-12. Washington's undefeated in the Pac-12. But the Pac-12 will not make the playoff. It's out of reach. Their chances are very slim. They're having games canceled, left and right. I'd kind of be surprised if there is a Pac-12 championship game and they're just gonna hand the Pac-12 championship to the best team. which would be very interesting to see. The Big 12. Big 12, Iowa State moving up, beating Texas 23-20, was very interesting, and which we already kind of seen that Iowa State was going to beat Texas. Texas is on a downfall a little bit. They're not falling major, but they're on a downfall, and it's kind of disappointing. But Iowa State's been kind of the favorite for the past few weeks to win the Big 12. Who will they meet? They're going to meet Oklahoma. Oklahoma State's not going to win out. Oklahoma State's not going to get into the Big 12 championship game. Oklahoma will. It'll be a very interesting game with the rematch, Iowa State versus Oklahoma, especially since last time Oklahoma was missing their 2-star running backs due to suspension. Breece Hill, had a very good game against Oklahoma. He won't have a good. He'll have a game. He'll have a good game, but he's not going to have a game like he had last time against this defense. This Oklahoma defense is ranked as one of the best defenses in the country. The offense is picking up. The running game is picking up. Spencer Rattler is playing excellent, and just finally got his feet under him. Being a red shirt freshman, he's really good. He's airing it out. He's putting up numbers. Doing good as a first-year starter, and I just can't wait for the years to come for him. Tulsa coming up, Liberty coming up. I've got Liberty in my top 25. Liberty's been having a good season. They're 9-1. They beat UMass 45-0. Another non-Power 5 conference team that, could possibly get into a New Year's Six, possibly, but their chances are slim also. It'd be kind of hard for them to get into it. Coastal Carolina's been having a good season also. They just beat Texas State 49-14. Again, a non-Power 5. These non-Power 5 teams are having, really great seasons, but it's mainly because of their conference. Their conferences are not strong at all, and they're dominating. They're taking over. They've had good recruiting, so they're able to take over. I mean, there's got to be a team to win their conference, but these teams lately have just been dominating their conference, and it's very interesting to see. So rounding up my top 25. I've got 25 Liberty, 24 Iowa, 23 Oregon, 22 Tulsa, 21 Oklahoma State, 20 Washington, who just beat Utah 24-21, 19 Louisiana, who just beat UL Monroe 70-20. Again, another non-Power 5 team that's dominating their conference. Louisiana has just been on a roll. It's going to be kind of hard for them to move up more and to play in a New Year's Six. But back to the rankings. I've got 18 Wisconsin, 17 Coastal Carolina, 16 Northwestern is falling from the number 8 spot. 15 Marshall, 14 USC, 13 Miami, 12 Iowa State, 11 Oklahoma, 10 Indiana, 9 BYU. I have them, bumped up from 14, even if their game with Army has been postponed, but like I said, there were some disappointments over the weekend, so teams dropped. 8 Georgia, 7 Cincinnati, 6 Florida, number 5 Texas A&M, number 4 Ohio State, number 3 Clemson, number 2 Notre Dame, and number 1 Alabama. That's my top 25, and we'll see how it compares to Tuesday night's college football playoff rankings. The committee's been, kind of put into a situation, especially due to the pandemic this year. So it's been a very interesting year in sports in general, but we'll see how they do the rankings on Tuesday night. Well, that's all the BS I have for this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. Until next time.